All right, what's going on? We just finished up this episode with Jordan from Hybrid Gaming. Hybrid Gaming is coming off a pretty hot, solid placement at the most recent Challengers event for the CDL in Minnesota. So I figured no better time to get him on than now. This was, at the time that this episode is going up, it was 2 weekends ago. But at any rate, it was a great event. Got to hang out with Jordan. It was a lot of fun. We scheduled this episode, and now we're recording it. So obviously, we get into Call of Duty quite a bit, hybrid gaming, past, present, and future, and all the things that they got going on. Yeah, that's all I got. Other than that, if you listen to these podcasts on a weekly basis and you're not telling your friends about it, tell someone today, because I'd appreciate that. And make sure you're subscribed. But other than that, enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to episode number 32 of the After Hours podcast. Here with me today, I have a special episode. I have the co-founder of Hybrid Gaming, Jordan Diel. Thank you for coming on, Jordan.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. It's honestly an honor for you to ask me to do this.
Yeah, are you sure it was an honor? Because I remember quite vividly our conversation, and actually no, I did ask you. We followed up.
I was begging.
Yeah. Oh, I just ripped my headset down. That's a great intro. But yeah, no, we just talked about that. We were just in Minnesota, obviously, together. And it's funny. You and Eric were both people that I was very interested in having on the podcast very early on. I had put together an initial list of people that I'd like to have on, and you guys were on it. So I've been, we've been, I guess, not trying adamantly to schedule this episode, but it's been definitely one that I've been anticipating for a very long time, and I'm glad we're finally here to get it done.
Heck yeah, man! I'm excited to be in the lineup with the big dogs. Like I told you, you've had some pretty awesome guests, so this is really cool.
Cool, great. Well, I mean, with all that, we could just jump right into it. So obviously, you guys just had a pretty solid, solid to say the least, placings plural at this most recent CDL Challengers event, in both second and fourth place with the teams that you sent there. So I guess walk me through a little bit like what that feels like for you as a brand.
Yeah, absolutely. So this to kick off the year, year one of the CDL, and send two teams to place second and fourth. For us, it means a lot. Like when our hybrid black team was up on that main stage, it hit me in such a crazy way, just thinking about like what it took to even get there in the first place. And we haven't been doing it this long, so the fact that we were there in this short amount of time, it hit me right in the feels, man. And I was honestly fighting back tears. I know it sounds kind of lame it might sound lame to some people, but like, man, we worked so hard to build the relationships that we built with players and people within the Call of Duty community to be able to get there, dude. It felt like nothing I've ever felt before.
Yeah, I totally feel that. Obviously, I've never sent a team, to main stage at any event. But I feel like I could attest to being slightly emotional or super excited about something that you guys did and accomplished entirely on your own. So I think that's great. And we'll get into that a little bit more probably later on. But I think it's super important to talk through your history a little bit. I know you have a massively long 10-year experience in the space, so I kind of just I want to talk. I would like if you kind of walk through a little bit of how hybrid was started, your thought process in why it was started and what your initial goals were.
Absolutely, man. So pretty interestingly enough, so Eric, the owner CEO of Hybrid Gaming, him and I have been going at this since March of 2018 is when Hybrid all started. And it actually started initially with three of us, and then we brought in two guys shortly after to do some content stuff. And then we did that for about 6 months to the point where uh, one day Eric and I were, or let me step back. So I had met Eric in a party chat on Xbox Live. So I had never met him in person, although we do have mutual friends. So I had been gaming with them for a couple weeks, or gaming with him and our mutual friend for a couple weeks, and then they brought this idea of hybrid to me, and they said, "Do you want to be a part of it?" I said, "Absolutely." So that started in March of 2018, and then, like I said, we started doing content right with the five of us. We were streaming, we were posting clips on Instagram, we were trying to get some videos up on YouTube, just trying to grow the brand as like content creators. And then we were in a party chat when World War II Champs was going on. And Eric and I were talking about how sweet it was, how cool competitive Call of Duty was, how cool Champs was, and wouldn't it be awesome if we could get there one day? And that's when we had our first conversations about getting into esports, because that wasn't even top of mind at all when we were initially starting. It was strictly going to be content. We just wanted to share our passion of playing games with the world. Um, and then we decided, hey, like, let's see what it would take to compete in Call of Duty. So I ignorantly thought that, I could create a team and compete, being what, 26, 27 at the time, not knowing anything about how really stiff the competition is. And so I tried putting together a team, and that obviously flopped. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go see who the free agents are out there, not knowing anything about the scene, and obviously having no connections into esports. So I just went on Twitter and started searching people looking for a Call of Duty organization. Started hitting some people up, and then eventually I got in touch with Robert Lampkin. He goes by Juju in the Call of Duty community. He was the only person, I believe, to respond, and then we set up some meetings, and kind of the rest was history. We signed him, uh, Clink, Nick Haight, Brian Nihill, and Willett. So that was our first team going into Vegas last year, and then we went through different iterations of teams throughout the year, and then finals, I think it was in Miami. We signed, or yeah, right before finals, we signed Spoof, Pander, Jin Shroyd, oh man, Beezy, and why is this slipping me? Oh, Stamina. I'm gonna get roasted for forgetting Steve, but so they uh, they obviously made it to champs, and it was just kind of crazy that in that 1 year, or one season really, we went from not knowing anything about Call of Duty to getting into champs, exactly like we set out to do, right? So yeah, now we're here. Like you said, just had two teams go and compete in the inaugural CDL launch event in Minnesota and place second and fourth. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean it's great. I as a, you know, obviously as a team that we work with, I naturally become fans of the teams that we work with. But there's obviously like I guess where I'm getting at is I'm naturally going to root for anybody who's wearing a Sector 6 jersey, just kind of naturally.
Right.
But past that, it felt really good for me to see you guys do this well at this event. Mostly because we have a really strong rapport with each other, and I like you guys a lot and all that. But it was great to see. I really enjoyed watching your guys play. I really enjoyed everything about this event from a hybrid standpoint was great to see for me. Now, something that hybrid has that I guess is a little bit more. I don't know what the right word is. Not premium, exclusive, I guess. You guys work with the Seattle Surge now as the. And I'm not even going to get into the wording because I don't want to word it wrong and get in trouble for it.
Sure.
So, talk me through what you guys are officially to the Surge and what that looks like for you guys.
Yeah, so we have an affiliation with the Seattle Surge. So that's technically the hybrid gaming team. That's Pander, Proto, who are the Seattle Surge subs, and then we have Spoof, Super, and Vivid, signed exclusively under hybrid. So the the way that it works is we have an agreement with the Surge and the league to be able to have their subs on our roster, and they get to compete in challengers under hybrid. But we've got that affiliation that allows that. So the other team that we had at this event and that we believe we're going to have moving forward, Hybrid Black, that's only under hybrid. That has no connection to the Surge. We just decided that we wanted that team, and that we were going to sign them, and they were going to compete strictly under hybrid.
Cool. Now, what's the differentiation, if there is any, and I don't know what all the logistics are, between you guys utilizing two of the Surge subs and two subs from, call it, uh, the Atlanta phase, going and competing at an event. Like what are the, I guess, the benefits of working with the Surge, both long term and not, or less of event to event, but more just like long term, that affiliation as a whole.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna kind of speak in like some of it might be hypothetical just because we're still building that relationship with them.
Right.
We had these conversations, I don't know, a month or two going into the first event because we just didn't know. I don't think either party really knew what we could do. But we started the conversations, and all these conversations routed through Eric. So I've heard these conversations from him. And it was, from our standpoint, what we wanted to set up is, if you think of traditional sports, you think of feeder teams and farm teams, right? That's our vision, is to be able to be a farm system for the Seattle Surge. Now, is that the way that they see the relationship as the same as us being a farm system to them for years to come? I believe so. I think that's what everyone kind of wants out of this relationship, and it's extremely not. I don't want to say. How do I word this? I mean, we're extremely grateful for the opportunity to work with them, right? Because we're based out of Seattle, so it all makes sense. Um, and to be able to work with those guys and try and bring talent in under hybrid gaming that could potentially funnel up into the Seattle Surge franchise, like we don't take that for granted at all. We are going to work our asses off to make sure that we're doing our due diligence in representing ourselves well, because we know that we're not just representing ourselves anymore at this point. If they're going to be affiliated with us, we have to operate at an even higher level and make sure that we're holding ourselves to a high standard on the business side, and making sure that our players are coming in ready to compete. We like to have fun, but we're here to win at the end of the day. Um, so that's that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's really great, from the public standpoint, from what we see of the relationship that you guys have with the Surge. I would like to see, and I expect to see more of that as time goes on, as the, I guess, the kinks get ironed out of what we can do, what we can't do, type thing. But I think it's great. It leaves us more opportunity than just, these are the pros, these are the open bracket guys. There's a true disconnect. I would definitely am looking forward to, hopefully there being more of like a, cross, maybe not cross promotion, but like the dipping back and forth and the weaving in and out of both. That way you don't lose sight of, the professional side versus the challenger side of things. So I think that's great, what you guys got going on, for sure.
Yeah, and just to touch on a little bit after this weekend, going into the weekend, I honestly didn't know what to expect. I had no expectations, right? I was solely focused on hybrid, our two teams, and making sure they're taken care of, making sure I'm handling the coordination with just wherever they need to be as far as like media stuff, getting our photographer to come to our matches and snapping photos, me doing some pictures and some video, and keeping our social up to date. And I had no expectations from what we were going to get as far as support from the Seattle Surge, and they blew my mind with the amount of support that they gave us that weekend. It was honestly like, it felt so cool just to know that they're in our corner. Like this is a true a relationship with them. It's not just, hey, you babysit our players for us, and then do your thing. We're going to be up here, doing our own thing. It really felt like they have our back, and they're supporting fully what we're doing, and it's vice versa. We're supporting them to the fullest as well.
Yeah, and that's the exact same feeling, I guess is the right word, that I got from seeing the interactions between both. I guess mostly on Twitter, both brands. That there clearly is the support, mutual support between both brands, which I think is great. Like I said before, like I think it's, I think it's vital to have that, to kind of mesh, and to I guess help the or I guess build the roadmap, to help build the roadmap and set it up that there isn't a hard differentiation between professional and challengers, like I was saying before. So definitely great to see that support. I love that. To transition here a little bit now, I know for the better part of, or I mean, for what feels like almost the entirety of the hybrid brand, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys have focused on fielding esports teams specifically in Call of Duty. With there was the fighter that you guys had worked with for a little bit, Too Easy, I think is his name.
Yes, Mortal Kombat
Mortal
specialist.
Kombat, yes. So outside of that, have you guys done any other or fielded any other esports teams?
No, we haven't. We've discussed getting into other titles after last year because of the whole franchising thing with Call of Duty. We didn't really know what our path was after that. We've had several discussions of, where do we go from here? Do we start doing some content stuff? Do we go and find a couple teams in a couple different esports and go that route? But it was difficult for us because this is where our passion lies. Now, granted, I understand the whole esports thing is to, kind of dip your toes in as many areas as possible as far as titles go, right? You've got organizations who have not just Call of Duty teams, but they might have Fortnite players, PUBG. They might have some fighting game players, Rainbow Six. Insert game here. But for us, our passion is Call of Duty. So to the extent possible, if we can be involved in Call of Duty and kind of grow from there, that's what we want to do. I mean, in a perfect world, if we could just do Call of Duty, that's what we will do. But we're gonna start here. We're gonna see where it takes us, and just keep rocking and rolling.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. Nobody, or I guess maybe not nobody, but it's not exactly as easy to build and strengthen and grow a brand or any business, company, whatever it is, if you're not truly passionate, or the people guiding the ship aren't truly passionate about what they're doing. That's not to say that you can't get a Rainbow Six team and like you would hate it so much you wouldn't want to do it. But if you're truly passionate about Call of Duty, just put all your eggs in that basket and get it working. And I don't think by any means is there anything wrong with that. So you mentioned a little bit content there. Are there plans to get or to start working with more either content creators in the Call of Duty space, or to build content around your teams or anything like that going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had discussions about it, and it's at this point really it's just putting a plan together and executing on it. We definitely want to develop a lot of content around our Call of Duty teams, especially if we're going to be having two teams throughout the entirety of the year. And as far as I know, like that's the plan. We're gonna try and make this work. We wanna try and put something together that you may have seen within Call of Duty, but we're gonna put a little hybrid, touch on it, right? We're gonna try and show some stuff that you may not have seen within Call of Duty, and really make it our own. Because like I said, like we want to focus on this as much as possible, and put out some cool stuff. So like I said, it's really about just planning and executing at this point.
Yeah, totally get that. Now, something I did want to bring up. You mentioned you were on top of making sure the match scores were posted and all that. You guys had those two threads running for both teams and all that. Now, What exactly did that look like? Getting all that done? Are you coordinating with someone back home? Are you doing that all yourself? Is everything handled by you? Like, what exactly did that look like throughout the weekend?
Yeah, so funny enough, I was there on my own as far as representing hybrid from the management side. It was me and then it was the players. So I was responsible for updating our social, making sure I was posting the scores, posting pictures, posting videos. I was running around like a maniac, it felt like at times, just because our teams would be playing at the same time sometimes. So I was trying to go back and forth to make sure I was capturing those moments of when they would win a series and capture that emotion, and make sure I got that on our Twitter as quick as possible so that we could keep everyone who's following um, up to speed with where we're at in the tournament. Um, Going forward, that might, we might keep doing that for a while until, it makes sense for us to grow and put someone in that position. But to be honest, like that, it was so much fun to me. I don't remember if I had talked to you about it, but I know I had talked to some people throughout the day or throughout the weekend of just like how I would not rather be doing anything else with my time. Honestly, like my feet, my knees, my back, they were killing me because it was so much standing. But I was having so much fun with it, man. It was just so much fun to watch our guys compete and just being in that environment, in the pit, that where all the passion is, right? It's like nothing else that you can experience outside of esports. And I don't really know much about any other esport, as well, but it feels like we have something unique within Call of Duty amateur scene. So yeah, I mean, I was doing that all on my own.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was great to see. So I know we did talk about this a little bit. I just obviously wanted the recording of it. But one thing, and I know I mentioned this to you in Minnesota as well. But I think something that I who what's the word here? I guess watched. What we noticed was that like you said before, you were posting like the second you guys won a map, that went up, or the series, you would post that you guys won. For the people who were interested in watching you guys, they knew you were capturing the moments of them winning, everything that you did. Personally, if I was an unrelated fan of hybrid, would be super grateful for that, because the team that I'm watching, the teams that I'm watching this weekend, I get to see exactly what happens as it happens. And something that I really want to commend you on is it was super awesome seeing the passion, like you said, you loved running back and forth and watching both of these teams. And I thought it was super great that you said you were the only guy there representing hybrid, and you were, from a social media standpoint, at least, like I said, from my side of things, seeing everything on the platform, I saw more content and posts and anything from a social media standpoint coming out of hybrid than I did, half the other teams in the bracket, let alone, coming from one person running two teams versus six, five, however many people, four or five people running one team. And I think it was super great that, you put your ass to work, you got everything done, but at the same time, obviously you loved it, but it was just, I think you just did a really good job of managing all of that this weekend, and it was great to see.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, that's like I said, I wouldn't have had it any other way. Obviously, I can't on how much content anyone else was putting out, because honestly, I had no leisure time to scroll through the feeds and see
Oh yeah.
who else was posting anything. I know that I felt bad at sometimes. People might have come up to me and we were having conversation, and I don't even remember if I said bye or how many words I said to some people because my mind was just scattered. I was trying to figure out where we were at what time, running back and forth from stations, and then going and checking the schedule just to see what time we were playing. And yeah, man, I was a menace that weekend, but man, it was so much fun. So if anyone's listening who came up to me and tried to talk to me, and felt like I was just didn't have a lot of words or standoffish, I promise you it's because my brain was fried.
I hear that. Yeah, no, I definitely feel you there. Now, so working with the players, obviously you're juggling two teams here, so this is probably different than most situations. What is that like? Are the so I guess you've worked with three teams, but I'm sure collectively 20 some odd players. What is it like to coordinate them all and to be at the same place? Do you designate one of the players to be the quote unquote captain, that guy finds out what time they're playing and everybody listens to him, or are you delegating and letting them know, hey, you got a match in 25 minutes, you got to be here, here, and here? What does that look like?
Sure, man. I mean, we're working with guys who have been doing this long enough that they know what's going on better than
Yeah.
I do, right? So like they stay on top of their schedules. I'm the one asking them at times like, "Hey, when do you play and where?" Because they've probably already went and checked the schedule. So yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful for the guys that we have playing under us because they're so on top of everything. Like it doesn't even feel like you have to manage them, right? They're pretty self-manageable. Um, I'm more there for like if they need anything, right? They need me to go on a food run or a beverage run, go get them some waters and stuff. That's really what my role was, and then obviously updating our social and whatnot. But yeah, I love being there and being with the players because I get to build those relationships with those guys. That's what we started this whole thing on the esports front was to make sure that our players feel like they're being well taken care of.
Um, so now I guess going into, or for anybody who hasn't ran an event, I'm just trying to, because I've never actually gotten this granular with what an event looks like from a management standpoint. I guess what would one piece of advice be for somebody who is sending a team to an event and they're the physical person managing the players? What would a piece of advice that you could give them be,
Hmm.
if you got one?
Sure. I guess it's going to depend on who's playing under you, right? If
Yeah.
they've been to events before, they're going to be pretty comfortable, right? But I would imagine it might be a little bit stressful and chaotic if you've never really gone to an event as a player before.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're managing those guys, just trying to make them feel as comfortable as possible, making sure you're doing as much for them as you can, figuring out what the schedule is so that you can relay that to your team and say, hey, you should be showing up here 30 minutes before, 45 minutes before to get warmed up, get settled in, whatever it is. Make sure that they've got like snacks and stuff to keep them fueled throughout the day because these guys are playing long days. There's times when they don't even get to eat. It's almost a luxury if they get to eat in the middle of the day when they're competing those long hours. Make sure that they're obviously well and hydrated, and other than that, just you're at their beck and call.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I really wish, like, I'd like to go to an event as a manager that isn't a super super important event for the players, but kind of just maybe a first time for them. I'd like to get a feel for what that looks like, because obviously I only see what I see. But I feel like you said, I think it'd be a lot of fun, especially if your team makes it to the main stage and there's that pride that you have and just like seeing the guys that you've been with all weekend making it there. Because I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. I know sure as hell I'm never going to be the guy sitting there playing on main stage, but I could sure as hell be the guy watching them and rooting them on. So
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I would love to just have that opportunity. I think that'd be great
Yeah,
one day.
and yeah, no, for sure. And you just feel so good for the players. Like they work their asses off day in and day out practicing to get to that point. So the fact that they made it, like you feel that respect and that like you're so happy that they were able to make it that far. And then obviously from that kind of, for lack of a better term, like selfish feel of that's they're part of my organization. Like that's crazy that these guys, these professionals, these guys who are so good at this game are representing your brand and they're doing it so well in and out of game.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So now to bring it back, you brought on Juju. He was the first guy to hit you back in
Hmm.
your outreach. What exactly? So I guess for somebody who's interested in getting into the Call of Duty space at the amateur level, or I guess any game, obviously Call of Duty is a little bit different because it's the amateur, like you said before, is a lot more passionate. But if you were, or did you think the best way was to go out and start scouting these players, whether you're looking or reaching out to them and talking to them? If somebody's trying to build that amateur scene from literally nothing, similar to situation to you guys, where do you think the best place to start is to start to find that core or that individual member that you're going to build around?
Yeah, so I guess since I know Call of Duty a lot more than anything else, I'll just kind of speak on
Yeah.
how I would go about doing this again if I were in this position. So I would probably do some Google searches, just searching Call of Duty, competitive Call of Duty, amateur Call of Duty, whatever, and try and see like if there's a list of players and what teams they've been on, where they've placed, and then going on Twitter and searching for Call of Duty players, and then you can cross-reference them on Google, and just see like where have they been, how long have they been competing, and sending them a DM if it's open, sending them an email if they have that in their bio, and just try and reach out to as many people as possible, um, to get a team or at least an individual, who has a team put together, and kind of start from there, because that's really what we did. We got lucky and found Juju, who they already had a team. They had a group of guys who have been competing in Call of Duty for a long time. So like, as much as you call them amateurs, I mean, they've been doing it so long where you can almost call these guys professionals in Call of Duty. Granted, they're not competing at the professional level, but when it comes to Call of Duty, these guys have been doing it long enough to where they know what's going on, right? So if you can get in with a group of guys like that, that's obviously great. Otherwise, there's so many people who want to get signed to an organization. It's just kind of how you want to go about doing it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So now you mentioned in the beginning that Juju was the only guy that got back to you. If you can recall, how many emails slash DMs do you remember sending, roughly?
I think I sent one DM and one email to Juju, and then I also saw that Nick's DMs were open and just said, "Hey, I reached out to Juju, wanted to give you a heads up in case you see it sooner." And then I think, he let Juju know that I reached out to him as well. So then they pointed me into the direction of their manager at the time, who since actually came on to work with us as kind of like a general manager, um, later down the road for like, forget what, like after Fort Worth or something like that. It was like the second or third event of the year. Um, but we had, I want to say, two or three calls with their manager, and then he went back to the guys and said, "Hey, I think that these guys are really professional and they're going to take care of you. I would give them a chance." And then that's when they decided that they would sign with us for the first event of Black Ops 4.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Now, I guess I probably should have clarified a little bit more. How many different players did you reach out to total, if you remember?
Oh man.
Ballpark. Like super rough.
I want to say it was about around 10ish,
Okay.
maybe.
Oh wow, I mean, that's way lower than I expected. Because
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things. Like if you're ever trying to, I guess, so run it back a couple years for when Sector 6 was trying to find their first couple clients or esports apparel at the time. Our kind of outreach was very much not necessarily copy and paste, but anybody with their DMs open is just like, "Yo, what's going on? Do you guys need merch?" Blah blah blah.
Right.
And I would have expected that it had been a similar scenario for you. Obviously, you probably did your research on like, who's a team that's going to get double first rounded versus who's a team that's been in the space or a player that's been in the space and knows what they're doing and is placed pretty well. But I don't know why I just expected, there to be a lot more than 10. But I mean,
Yeah,
I think that's great.
yeah, no, looking back, it was actually kind of crazy that they responded because, we had no reputation in esports, right? And now I'm understanding that some organizations who come in here with no reputation, um, players won't even give them the time of day, because obviously learning from just last year, all the sketchy things that happened
Oh, yeah.
from not only amateur organizations, but amateur or organizations that were in the pro scene.
Mm-hmm.
We saw three of them in the pro scene that went to shambles in the middle of the year. They didn't even last the entire year. So it's crazy to see, one, that, but it was also, it felt good that these guys trusted us, and the fact that they did that, we wanted to make sure that we showed them that like we're for real. Like we want to do this thing, and we want to do this thing for as long as possible. Like, we want to make this our full-time jobs. We want to make this our careers. So we did not take it lightly that they believed in us.
Yeah, yeah, that totally makes sense. I think another big thing is like like you said, people with brands without reputation coming into the space. It's a little bit harder for players to be interested in, and I'm sure it kind of works both ways. There's probably a lot of players that are coming into the space that are reaching out to brands that have or the players have little to no reputation, and they want to reach out to brands that may or may not be. Looking to bring them on or whatever the case is. But I think a big thing is like the way you present yourself and like being clear and concise and like understanding or conveying your message in a proper way that the team or the players understands what you're looking for, and whether it's you know an easy decision for them or not. I think it all comes down to like I think I've always thought you guys held yourself at a really high standard regardless of where your reputation is or isn't. So I think people are just gonna I assume Juju had the same mindset. Kind of naturally want to work with you guys just because you're a couple cool guys, and you hold yourself at a pretty high standard. So I think that's super important. To come off as professional as you can while maintaining professionalism, not to just for lack of a better term, catfish somebody on your professionalism. But like, I think it's definitely just super important to act the part. You're never going to work with somebody you want to work with if you're acting like a child on social media or whatever the case is.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
I
and,
think,
and just going back to like that, if you're looking to get into the space, like we kind of touched on how you might reach out to players, right? But here's the thing, if you land a team, that my best piece of advice to you as an organization, especially a new organization, granted this applies to anyone, no matter what your reputation is, how long you've been operating, treat your guys with respect, man, and make sure that you're taking care of those guys. It's blatantly obvious when you're in it for the money, and your time in the space is going to be cut very short. If you're in it for a quick buck, and if you're scamming players, that gets around so quick. If I learned anything being in Call of Duty for just over a year now, it's that word travels fast, and you will get blacklisted at the snap of your fingers.
yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen that as well. So I could totally attest to that. I think that's definitely super important. Like treating players or whoever, people in your organization, the people you work with, whatever business relationships you've built at every level, you should be treating people with respect. Because like you said, otherwise that word gets around and nobody wants to work with you. So priority number one should be, um, uh, you know, just be respectful. I totally
Yeah,
agree with that for sure.
100%. And your word is everything. If you give someone your word, Eric and I are big on this. If we promise anyone anything, we're going to follow through on that. We don't give false promises. We're not afraid to say, "Hey, we cannot do that," or "We're not going to do that." You just have to be super transparent with them. Otherwise, you're just going to burn a bridge, and you're going to burn it early, and then you're just going to be right back out that door.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree with that too. Yep. 100%. Um, now, I guess plans for going forward. Obviously, you can continue doing what you're doing, dominating the Challenger series scene and all that. But what are there now that you can get into? Are there bigger picture, ideas that you're looking to take the brand, whether it's towards content or towards more teams or whatever that is? Like, what does the rest of 2020 look like for hybrid?
Uh, in full transparency, I mean, we're just gonna focus on our Call of Duty guys and building this relationship with the Seattle Surge, since like this is one of the coolest opportunities that we've been presented with, right? We're gonna make sure that we handle this with care, and we're gonna grind our asses off to make sure that, we show them that, hey, you did not make a mistake working with us. We really want to, like I said, we're extremely passionate about Call of Duty and this community. We want to try and be a big presence in this community first, see where we can go with this, and then in the future we might see where our paths can go. But really, it's going to be about putting that content plan together for our Call of Duty guys, and executing on that, and then just going as fast as we can here.
Well, I can tell you right now, I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Super excited to see where this brand continues to grow. I've been working with you guys just over a year now. How long ago was Fort Worth?
Boy, don't. I think it was February of last year.
Okay, almost a year. um,
Yeah,
but it's been super exciting to me to see what you guys are doing. It's been great to see. So I'm super excited to see where you continue to take the brand and what your relationship with the Surge unfolds into, and obviously what our mutual relationship kind of unfolds into. So super excited for that. So it should be a great year for you guys, and I'm excited to watch.
me too, brother.
Now, I guess is there anything that we didn't kind of get into, or that you wanted to mention, or if there's any like lasting last word that you want to get in, or anything like that we didn't cover?
Mm. And I don't think so. I guess I'm gonna be extremely corny and cliche and say that you you are really the only person that is stopping yourself from doing anything that you want. If you can think it, you honestly can go get it. There's the only thing that's gonna hold you back is your own mental block. Like I said earlier in this podcast, is that we wanted to go make champs. We made that happen, and we didn't stop there. We're going to keep going, and we're going to build this thing to the extent possible that we can, and we're going to make our dreams come true.
Hell yeah! Now that is how you end the podcast.
Let's
Uh,
go, baby.
I like that. But unfortunately, you can't end the podcast before doing the shameless plug portion of it. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, or hybrid, or yeah, you or hybrid, what's the most efficient way to do that?
Yeah, I'm extremely active on Twitter, and that's at Real Jordan Deal. And then obviously Hybrid Gaming is at GG Hybrid Gaming. If anyone would like to give us the at Hybrid Gaming we would greatly appreciate that. But there it is.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely is pretty active on Twitter. He recently put up a video that got 50,000 views or something like that. So definitely check the guy out. But yeah, other than that will conclude this episode. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, leave a review, whatever the case may be. And tell Jordan I said hi if you hit him up on any social media platform. But other than that, I will catch you in the next episode. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man.
You got it.